Good afternoon and welcome to this meeting of the Council's Cabinet, which will be webcast. Before we start these proceedings, may I bring your attention to some housekeeping matters. There is no expected fire alarm testing today. Therefore, if the fire alarm sounds, please follow the fire and emergency procedures and leave via the nearest fire exit. Please can I ask you use your microphone when addressing the meeting, that it is switched off when you're not using it. And please ensure that your mobile devices are turned to silent. So we move to item number 1, apologies. Do we have any apologies, Jamie?
Thank you, Chair. We've received apologies from the Leader, Councillor Hayden and Councillor Penberthy.
Thank you. And we hope they're all better soon. 2 is declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations of interest in respect of any of the items on the agenda today? No. Okay. I move to item 3 on the agenda, minutes of the previous meeting. I propose that the minutes of the meeting held on the 24th of November 2025, which was in the evening, unusually, be signed as a correct record. Are we all agreed? Agreed. Lovely. Okay, so item 4 is questions from the public. Do we have any questions from the public? We don't, do we, Jamie?
Thank you, Chair. There's no questions from the public today.
Okay, and item 5 is Chair's urgent business. I don't have any items of urgent business. Okay, so we move on to item 6, which is the Civic Centre verbal report. Councillor Lowry will introduce this item, and we welcome David Draffen, Service Director for Economic Development, Emma Wilson, Head of Regeneration and Growth, Camille James, City Centre Regeneration Coordinator, who is on screen, and Mark Braun from BDP, James Harrison from Atkins Realis will also be in attendance, and Nick Powell from ACON. So thank you all for joining us. Start with you, Mark.
Thank you, Chair. So from time to time, I've come to Cabinet and talked about the Civic Centre project. However, I've not been able to come to Cabinet and tell you about progress, because you'll all be aware that actually, from time to time, there hasn't been a lot of progress because we've had a number of issues along the way. But thankfully, we're in a position now where actually all those problems that we previously had have been addressed, and we have a very good team, which you've just referred to in your introduction, who are here today to give us some progress update and set out the vision and the reason why this project is incredibly important to the city of Plymouth. So I just want to give you some updates since we last spoke. So the building is now fully secure, and unauthorised access, which we were having from time to time, is being addressed. We've received confirmation from Homes England that they will give us £18.4 million to move this project forward. The first phase of the project to remove the asbestos was complete this month, so that's now been done now. So we can access the area to undertake a number of surveys. And structural and concrete assessments have been undertaken as we speak and are expected to complete in February next year. You'll also notice, Chair, outside we've got some lovely new branding which hopefully tells the city exactly what we're proposing to do moving forward. And in addition to that, we have undertaken an extensive engagement exercise over the past few weeks, and we've had some feedback from them, and we'll hopefully hear more about that this afternoon. But I'm pleased to say the tide is turning. A lot of people are of the view and opinion we should just demolish the building. Well, if only it were that simple. I'm afraid we can't. It's a building that's listed, so we have to deal with what we've got. And the vision, what we've got, is a very exciting one. So I'm delighted to introduce the team and ask them to explain exactly what it is we're proposing to do moving forward, Chair. Thank you.
Lovely. Who wants to start?
Thanks, Jemima. Thank you, Mark. So I'm really pleased to be able to bring Mark and James into the Cabinet meeting today to be able to take you through where we've got to in terms of the designs for the Civic Centre. So Mark, he is the Architect Director at BDP, and really importantly, he is head of their UK housing sector. He brings with him a significant track record in delivering high-quality, award-winning buildings and town centre regeneration schemes. He's been involved in a diverse range of projects, including residential, retail, education and leisure across the UK and internationally. He is passionate about delivering high quality buildings and places that both innovate and work within client budgets and programmes. I didn't know this until recently, but Mark actually grew up in Plymouth, and he's really passionate about leading the transformation of this landmark project for the city. Also, we've got James Harrison here, who is the designer for the City College Plymouth. James passionately believes that good design has the power to transform people's lives. He's made significant contributions to this field over a distinguished career spanning more than 30 years and has won many awards for his work. Throughout this extensive career, James has garnered a wealth of experience applied across a diverse range of sectors, including defence, education and commercial, showcasing a versatility of skill set and a deep understanding of multiple building typologies. James has worked with the City College Plymouth for over 15 years and has delivered a number of successful projects for them, including master planning the Kings Road campus. And he's also worked elsewhere in the city, including within Devonport Dockyard, the University of Plymouth and the Box. We're delighted to have the experience of both Mark and James within the design team. Over to you.
Thank you, Emma. Right, I'm going to attempt to work the technology now. Bear with me. So, I'm delighted to talk to you again about our progress that we've made on the civic project. I'm just going to minimise that so I can see. So, we've been involved in the project now since May this year. There's been an enormous amount of work undertaken supporting the previous work that was been ongoing with the asbestos clearance that Mark spoke about, and we are nearing the point of getting towards a planning application, hopefully very early in the new year, kind of coming through. But this project is clearly a project, as Mark said, that's far more significant than just any project in any city. This is a landmark project at a point in time in Plymouth that was about the renewal of a whole vision. The previous scheme, no, there were lots of very positive things to kind of come from this process, from the Urban Splash application. But there were a series of areas that we felt could be improved, could be redeveloped, aligned to kind of modern regulations as well. Fortunately for us, I think we were building on very strong previous shoulders. That some of the kind of core design things that were being undertaken were very positive, but we've also managed to take across Hydrock and Hawley and OFR, the fire engineers, all across into the kind of new project team. And that's been supported and complemented by ACOM, Nick providing PMQS services and BDP bringing architecture and landscape services. And we've been able to kind of drive that kind of new kind of project through. And James has come on board supporting the City College and that kind of renewal. As I said, there's lots and lots of work being undertaken, including pre-application process, including kind of planning, consultation, as Emma will talk to you about shortly. One of the kind of things that we wanted to set out at the start of this project was set a really, really strong and compelling vision, build on that kind of brief that we're given at the outset. There's some really kind of core parts to that. 144 new homes have to be delivered as part of the Homes England grant funding. City College are a really core component of driving forward a kind of regeneration approach that brings a real point of difference from the previous planning application. But also, we see this as an opportunity to remove some of those former unsympathetic additions that were added onto the building, and some of the things actually that the previous application, I think, was probably taking away some of the kind of positive things of the existing building. In very high level terms, the kind of colour coding that you can see on screen represents the kind of core principles of what we're looking to bring forward. The blue is largely the podium element of the building, the bridge and the north podium and the lower ground areas, and that's largely the City College demise, with some residential space in there for amenity for the residents. The yellow is the residential redevelopment, which is again delivering those 144 homes, but in a reconfigured manner from the previous consent. And at the top of the building, we've got a really strong ambition to try and deliver a new commercial use, which is harking back to the original design of the project. And that was very much part of the original vision, trying to deliver public oversight over all of government, which is a very, very strong concept and something we'd really aspire to redeliver. The red line of the project is exactly the same as we were looking at previously. Some slight tweaks but broadly speaking, exactly the same as the original consent that was approved in the scheme in the 2018 scheme. We see this building, both as a landmark in the city. It's one of the tallest buildings in the city, but it's also a kind of really core part of Plymouth's post-war regeneration story. And we see this not just as, it's a listed building that has great modernist principles, but we also see this as a kind of a very symbolic building that represents the rebuilding of a society and the kind of real kind of clarity of the importance of public office and public service. And this building was very, very strong conceptually, which again was part of the kind of listed nature. Everyone will be aware of these photos, but they just kind of represent some of the kind of great qualities of this building, but also the kind of condition that the building's in today, which is probably slightly sad after so many years of slow decline. But we see this building as a real opportunity to bring back the love that this building once had. In 1962, when this building opened, people queued up to go to the roof of this building and go and visit the restaurant. And we aspire to redeliver that. So we've done a whole host of work analysing this building. I know there's been a lot of public kind of feedback about concrete cancer. Concrete cancer doesn't exist, it's no such thing, but it doesn't have concrete cancer for the sort of people that understand what concrete cancer is supposed to mean. So there isn't any inherent structural issues with the building other than things that you would normally expect, like rebar, reinforcement and the like. This building is very, very strong conceptually, and it was intended to be part of a much bigger vision. Hector Sterling was your city architect when this was delivered, and it represented some really big moves in society at that point in time. Just to dwell very briefly on some very boring things, but very important things, we'd want to deliver new residential homes within the tower component. We're over 40 metres and over 18 metres. That means we're subject to the building now being classified as a high-risk building. So we have to go through the Building Safety Act. We have to go through a whole process, Gateway 1, 2, 3, building regulations process effectively in order to deem that the building is safe to be occupied by new residents. So very important part of the project. One of the big things that comes from that is that we need to deliver a new lift within the building, which means some reconfiguration of one of the staircases within the existing building. So there's some quite invasive work going to be undertaken as part of the project. As I said, it's an amazing project. People have fallen out of love, but I think this is an opportunity. We see that lack of love as an opportunity to bring back the love as a design team. It's about polishing a jewel, not something else that people might anecdotally say. But no, it's Grade 2 listed. It has amazing visibility across the city, but actually people have stopped seeing it because of that lack of love. And actually we see this as an opportunity to bring that love back and bring that visibility back to the building. There are lots of issues, as people would expect with a building of this age, that we are addressing as part of this kind of project. And this kind of shows you what this building looked like when it was first originally delivered as a project. The gentleman here, that is Hector Sterling. People can't see my mouse moving probably, with the glasses, Corbusian glasses. People don't know about Hector Sterling actually, and he's kind of quite an influential architect that we're trying to record as part of this process as well. Abercrombie's plan didn't identify the building to go in the location that it did, but Hector Sterling had a very, very strong vision to deliver this project to much acclaim when it did get delivered. And actually this project is also about recording some of that social and historic kind of story that this project has. The building, just to kind of show its influence, the building back in its day, it was even used by the Leyland Bus Company to showcase their latest models. That's how good this building was. So no, there's some fantastic features that sit within it. Everyone will be aware of these things as they kind of saw it back in the day. And there's some amazing photos kind of coming through as this building has become more recognisable. I think some of these images have started populating the sort of social media as well, which is fantastic to see as well. One of the things that I think we got very interested in, I'm going to touch on this very briefly, is the Fibonacci sequence, which is referenced by the listed nature. And if anyone doesn't know about the Fibonacci sequence, it's the ordering principle of all organic material, of all Mother Nature. And actually it becomes the golden ratio. And that was sort of discovered by Fibonacci, this Italian Renaissance artist. That golden ratio goes across Greek pediments, Victorian buildings, Georgian buildings, and really good modernist buildings as well, and sets that kind of context of ordering principle. And this building really does sit within that context. You can't see it because of the dilapidation of the building, but that ordering principle is in there, which means this building has got some really good bones that sit behind it. And one of the things that we've been investigating is that kind of kit of parts approach. That also goes into the kind of order of the texture of this building. It has fantastic texture, it has fantastic colour. And all of those things we're trying to absorb in this project to reiterate and bring forward an amazing new building for residents or college uses. I've spoken about the high-risk building. One of the things that we have to do is form an independent section for both the residential, for the council house that we're in today, and also for the college in the future. And that allows the high-risk building to be deemed to be very safe, but those other uses that aren't contexts in that high-risk building to be operate as a standard building regs. Very important, very boring, I apologise, but very important part of this process. So we want this building to be iconic. It's already iconic, but we want to bring that jewel back to the city. It's sustainable as a project because it's about reusing the existing assets, bringing that back into use is the best thing that we could possibly do. And we think introducing these new uses into the project, including the City College, is all about bringing transformation to the city and this part of the city to drive new, vibrant nighttime activity. We've set a series of kind of core principles that we're testing the project against as we kind of go through. And I'm just showing you a few work in progress images that are taken from our live Revit BIM model that we're using to develop the design sat in the context of the city in order for us to test the project. Is it doing the right thing for the city as part of our design process? James will talk to you about the blue in a second, but the blue is the City College lower ground area. The sort of left-hand side is the residential back of house spaces, the bin stores, the bike stores, the plant spaces. This shows the transformation from the Theatre Royal car park looking towards the building. A new active ground floor has been delivered with kind of workshop spaces again, still to James's thunder. We're dropping in new atriums into the building in order to bring daylight down to that lower ground level. Everyone sees it as a basement, but actually it's just lower ground. So that's a really kind of important part of the process. You also see on the left-hand side of this plan, there's a yellow and a purple tone. The purple tone is the access that we're proposing to allow people to get straight up onto the rooftop terrace, subject to that being agreed through the safety regulator kind of process. Again, some more images kind of showing the context and the transformation that we're looking to kind of bring forward in the project. The first floor, again, James will talk to you about the blue. The yellow spaces are those residential amenity. One of the things that we're looking to bring forward with those 144 homes is a really purpose-designed build-to-rent product. So a really high-quality product which comes with new residential amenities that are gyms, co-working spaces, lounges, communal dining spaces and the like. One of the things that we're also introducing is a new stair and bridge within our bridge courtyard podium area, which is all about delivering both a high quality new addition, but also importantly fire escape from those areas at the first floor level. And that's a view back towards that new insertion, which is all about referencing the rear stair and bridge. The residential design, we're looking to bring forward really high quality space standard compliant homes, accessible homes. This kind of shows you those little circles, the existing excerpts, where we're looking to make alterations to the lifts and introducing a lift to the other kind of core. This is the evolution from the consented scheme, 144 homes, to the proposed scheme, which is all about delivering space standard compliance, accessibility compliance, but also looking at delivering homes that are really bespoke to this building rather than taking a standard typology and putting that into the building. We're looking to deliver a bespoke typology to this building that delivers real transformation and real kind of significance to the listed nature of the project as an overall. So some really exciting homes in there. We're looking at exposing the waffle ceilings within the apartments to create these amazing loft style living spaces. A real diversity of homes in there as well. No two homes will be the same. It's an absolute nightmare as an architect, but it's going to be amazing for residents. And it's all about delivering this kind of living on the facade approach. One of the things with delivering a brand new residential project into this tower is also thinking about how do we create long-term sustainable homes. And we're looking at delivering the latest sustainable technologies within the building, which is a mechanical whole house vent system. So all the buildings have their own ventilation systems. They all have heat recovery systems, but we've got to get that out to the facades. And the way that we're looking to do that is actually to introduce a office-based strategy, quite unusual for residential, but we're putting all the ducts in the floor rather than in the ceilings, which mean we can be very sensitive to the elevations. We're doing the same thing that Urban Splash were proposing to do in terms of the facades. We're looking to increase the height of the windows, so we're going to drop the height of those concrete panels that you can see today. We're going to put back concrete panels that are in the Fibonacci sequence, importantly for us as architects. And the leisure space, that's a photo taken from one of the films on the Box website in the archives of when the restaurant opened back in 1962. And you can see the kind of quality of spaces that were up there. We want to redeliver that amenity for people to get up onto the roof no matter where and no matter when they are in the city. And we think this is really exciting. We do have to have a fallback position, and the fallback position is to use that residentially, but this is very much a fallback position that we're looking to hard bake into the scheme, but make sure that, importantly, we're creating a scheme that is robust as a planning application for everyone in the room. James, sorry.
That's fine.
Taking too long already.
That's good. So City College, what they're bringing to this is they're bringing a new blue-green skills hub. And that will be dedicated to the training of people for the skills of the future. The focus is on high-value skills for the green and blue economies, such as offshore wind and sustainable energy and electrical transportation. And it's going to offer about 60 courses from apprenticeships to higher education, adult skills programs as well, supporting around 2,000 learners each year from this building. It'll support local people and employers to prepare for new industries and opportunity. And it reinvigorates the city centre by increasing daily footfall for the civic centre and the surrounding area by bringing all those students into an area of the city. So it's part of a regeneration of that particular piece of Plymouth. Let's just click to the next one. So we're about a little bit of half a stage behind the civic development at the moment, but we're now pushing forward with the scheme. We're looking at our spatial relationships at the moment. We're working through the curriculum requirements, and we're also understanding the civic building with all its consequences and opportunities that it has. We've used design drivers really to build the internal fit out for this building. It's around access. Where is the front door and how do you find us? It was quite a big part of what we've been looking at. We're looking at active frontages, making sure that when you look at the building, you can see things happening in the building and you can see what's happening and get interested in that. It's about community and connectivity and welcoming students and the wider Plymouth community into the building to engage with what's happening in this building. And it's working with the historic building, utilising its features, but continuing with the architectural language that's already in there, but embed this new blue-green skills curriculum within a design that's going forwards. This one. So we've kind of been doing a bit of work with the college at the moment on look and feel. So these are the kind of images that the college have in their minds at the moment. I'll just take you through quickly the plans of where we are at the moment. So this is the lower ground area, which you kind of saw previously. So down here in this sort of areas marked 1 are 6 number large workshop spaces. The height down there is quite amazing. So it gives us real opportunity to develop something, a unique space down there for some large engineering type project work. And then in between those 2 blocks of 3 is the heart space. And this is using a Heller-up staircase, which is a kind of staircase which you can sit on and also travel to link between the ground floor and the lower ground spaces. The next one. On the ground floor, this is the main entrance in, and there's the college square in front of that. On the left-hand side is the spa, which will be labelled number 4, operated by the college. On the right-hand side is the restaurant, indicated by number 3. And then you're going to the main college entrance space, number 5, which will welcoming you and also to orientate yourself within the building. Heart space is number 2, and then right at the back of here is the buildings which are, the rooms which are around digital technologies, immersion spaces, all those kind of really interesting digital kind of phenomena that are going to come forward in these courses. Take to the next one. Onto the first floor, really. Again, this atria space is now linking, number 2 is linking all the spaces together right the way through the college buildings. And on the left-hand side is a series of classrooms. and on the marked as one, and on the right-hand space, a series of classrooms as well, all linked around this atria space to teach this new curriculum. Just a couple of sections to show you through the centre. So you can see there's 3 stories at the back of the building, 2 stories at the front, and this atria space in the centre, which kind of links all the way through the building to connect all the spaces together. This is quite a nice one to show where the tower block sits over the top of the spaces, and then the atria space to the right-hand side, which again plunges daylight right down into the bottom of the building.
Have I run out of time, David? No. Almost. I'll go super fast now. So public realm, obviously landscape is massively important about engaging. We've had exactly the same design rigor taken. You know, there's amazing, the Jellicoe kind of landscape design that was done outside in the Civic Square, looking at integrating all of that, pulling that into the College Square, into the residential demise outside the new entrance, to make sure that this project feels like it's bedded and part of the city. But it's slightly unique in itself as well, is our sort of design intent. So this is where the previous scheme was at planning stage. This is a view of work in progress with our in-house renders, so not quite as polished, but kind of gives you a raw idea of where we're up to. Overview of the city, and then just to kind of very briefly just talk to you about some of the kind of key changes again, just to summarise. So as I said, we've introduced new stairs and lifts within the tower to give us compliance with the regulations. We've made all of the apartments space standard compliant. We've made them accessible with some N43 apartments, accessibility within the apartments as well, on one on each floor. We've looked at delivering the potential for a commercial use on the roof, albeit with a backup plan just in case we're not allowed. For either a Building Safety Act or viability reasons. We've done more retention than the previous planning applications. We've kept much more of the 1970s extensions, but we're still strategically removing some extensions from the 70s to allow this building to kind of really sing back to its original intent, let the tower float above the podiums. The ground floor has then become much more active, as you've seen and heard from James. And we're also making that ground floor much more accessible within the landscape as well. So there is one tree being removed externally, and that's there to facilitate a brand new level access up to the front door of the college entrance into the project. And at the lower ground level, as I said earlier, the intention is that we're going to create this brand new active environment down at that lower ground level, which today is just a car park and a back of house service space. Last but not least, this is very much a sneak peek. This is still being commented on by us, but this is the latest progress of our professional CGIs being developed for the planning application, which I think is it's far better than ours, I would say, but it's really exciting to see it coming to life for us as well at this kind of stage in the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, James. I was just going to give a quick update on where we are in terms of the development programme. So the phasing of the redevelopment of the Civic Centre is in 3/4 phases. So phase 0, asbestos removal and securing the site has now been complete. And you'll see a change in the workforce at the site now. So the Gwella team who were there moved off site in November, and we've now handed the site over to Southwest Concrete, who are undertaking the structural surveys. They will be there until February time. In terms of the professional team, we are currently concluding the evaluation of the pre-contractor services agreement for the construction contract. And the team are working through REBA stage 3, so the spatial coordination, moving shortly onto REBA 4, which will be the technical design phase. So that should be concluded around February time next year, post the planning submission. I thought it'd be really great just to update you on the recently concluded public engagement that was carried out. We had really good traction on the various websites and consultation pages that were put out. So there were circa 13,000 visitors to the consultation website, with 406 of those people becoming subscribers. We had great views across social media, with just over 250,000 people viewing the various posts that were put out. We had 207 responses to the survey, and generally really positive responses overall. So just a few of those highlights. 66% were supportive of the redevelopment, of which 47% were very supportive, 19% quite supportive. Young people in particular were really positive about the visuals, describing it as lively and inviting, so well done. And 62% felt positive about about the skills hub's location, with only 19% having negative views. 86% believe that the blue-green industry training is really important. The main concerns that were raised, cost and value for money, high-rise homes in the city centre, affordability and risk of gentrification. General things around the structural condition of the building, which we're working through at the moment, parking, and just the timescales in terms of delivering the project. Hopefully you can see we've made huge progress since we've been able to have a site that we've actually been able to get into and to start doing the survey work, which obviously we had to put health and safety first in terms of securing the site and removing the initial phasing of asbestos. You know, we've had some great responses, and I'd encourage you all just to have a look at the Civic Centre consultation page in terms of the memories that people have shared there. So all in all, I think it's been a really positive period of time for the project team, and certainly there's a huge amount of work that's been done. Thank you.
Did Camille want to come in, or you?
I was just covering for Camille, okay, just to save her voice, Chair.
Oh, sorry.
That's quite all right.
Apologies, Camille. I didn't realise that.
That's okay.
There's loads of us struggling with some kind of lurgy at the minute. Mark, did you want to finish off?
I didn't know if members themselves, cabinet members themselves, wanted to come in first, please, Chair.
I wanted to. I mean, I don't get the hate for this building. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's emblematic of so many things about Plymouth. But I've lived in Plymouth a long time, but I've never set foot in that building. So when can I get a look in there, Mark?
You are one of many who are desperate to go and have a look, and when you do, I think you'll be very surprised, because the views on any floor in that building are quite amazing, actually, let alone just from the top floor. But I'm currently in the process of discussing with the team that we arrange an open day in perhaps January, where we can invite members, officers who haven't had the opportunity to see that building, and of course bring the press in so we can sort of show it off to the wider community. But hopefully in January we can get you, along with many people who want to, come and take a look. Yes, but so watch out for a date in late January.
Great. And my husband's dad worked in planning in that building, and he has memories of being a child and being at the cafe on the top. So added memories. Councillor Stevens wanted to come in.
Thank you, Chair. I sense your excitement. It's obviously oozing, but there is an excitement across the city at the minute, given the growth boom that's here. And there are so many projects, small ones, large ones, that are centred or linked to the growth. And I recently went to a Land, Sea and Air conference at the university. It was put on by the Institute of Engineers and Technology. And it involved members of the MOD, MPs, industries related to engineering skills, particularly around the centre of a Devonport dividend and the National Marine Autonomy Centre. It's huge. When this building was mentioned, that it would base a college for blue and green skills, the excitement oozed out from that as well, because what we're doing is regenerating a building for the city, but also building resilience for a generation of people of all ages to acquire the skills needed to get that economic dividend into real life in the city. So I really welcome this. I think it's a really exciting, it's not just homes, it's a functioning building for the benefit of the city's growth. Thank you.
Councillor Aspinall.
Thank you, Chair. One of those things I'm really pleased about is that you've then got access for people with disabilities, etc., to get up to that top floor. Because we all know there was a staircase from the one below, and you had to, so all of those people we saw up there had to be
Yeah.
able enough to climb the stairs. And I gather, again, that the stairs weren't built to what they were supposed to. They were skimped on there. So I'm really pleased about that. So it'd be great to have that there.
Councillor Creswell.
Thank you. Really, really exciting. I must say, just a little thing, is if the cafe or restaurant at the top, is it likely to be called a room with a view? Is the a nod to literary works there?
Yeah.
which sounds good fun, especially, and I love the Fibonacci sequence as well. I've actually been working it out as I've been listening. What I was going to say is what I was really taken with you, James, is when you were talking about access and active frontages and this sort of community connectivity and that engagement of being able to see what's kind of going on. And I think that's really exciting because I think that will actually draw people in. We want, you're obviously thinking of a bill of learning spaces, which we know that learning spaces sort of for all ranges of young people, children and such, are really impactful on learning outcomes. But I really like this idea, and I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about this community connectivity and engagement.
So obviously the building's coming to the city to get more engagement with the city. That's one of the reasons it's there for. But I think one of the key things is this view through here. This goes right the way through the building, so you can see into the building, and it's really important that you be able to see what's happening in the building. So we're looking to do probably some projection and some other stuff in there, which allows this kind of view into the building so you can see what's going on in terms of the engineering that's going on there. We're encouraging people to go in there to take a look at what courses might be available for them. It's like that community stopover, so there's somewhere you can have a coffee, it's somewhere you can talk to other people. So yeah, we're trying to draw the community into engagement with the college as a whole. That's what the whole point of that ground floor is.
I think that's going to be really, really a real big game changer as well. I think that's going to be so important in terms of opportunities, not just opportunities for our young people, elder people or whatever, but also being able to see those things. You know, we keep saying about young people and work and such, and you can't be what you can't see. And what you're actually here doing is that you are offering that vision and that actual seeing, and the opportunity to be so many things. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really interesting to see the city college areas because I hadn't seen the kind of visuals for that before. David, you wanted to come in.
Just a couple of points if I could. First of all, just to publicly say well done to the team. So both I think our professional team and our project team are, you can sense the passion. So I just wanted to say that. 2 points. So one is I think we've all made the point the Civic Centre is really important, and we talked about design and heritage, but it's also important to prove what is taken for granted in a lot of the large cities, that people live in cities and city living exists. And this project is going to be an absolute exemplar and prove that living in a city with all the amenities is a fantastic thing. So I think that I just want to make that point. This is going to do that, and it's also going to make the market. And I think we've already seen on the back of this project people wanting to, other like-minded developers wanting to get in the action. The second point I just wanted to make was I think local government's often criticised for being slow and lacking innovation. Well, I think this is a good example if you ever want to push back in a space. So in 9 months from when we came to Cabinet, Mark, I think it was in March time where we said, can we have permission? Just to have assembled a 36 million grant package, including, what I think the biggest grant package we've ever got from Homes England, and to have brought the building back and to have got to this position and the consultation, I just think shows what we can do in local government. And there's not many, local government departments have the wherewithal, the backing, or the ability to do this scale of direct development. I just think in the progress in 9 months, I think is pretty extraordinary. And I'd like again to pay tribute to I know you're part of it, Mark. You've seen it, but this amazing team of people. It's you can feel the energy, can't you?
Thank you. Last word to you, Councillor Larry.
So the whole point of bringing this to you was to make you feel confident that finally we've got a project that is off and running, and we've got a very experienced and professional, dedicated team. I have every confidence in, and David summed it up perfectly. So we are going to see progress. As David said, we've got the money, we've got the team, they're very experienced, they're very professional, they're dedicated. I'm always impressed whenever I spend time with them. They prove to me that they can take my challenge and they will move it forward on behalf of the city. So, like David, huge thank you. I know it's a long way to go, and you'll be back explaining the good progress, but thank you very much as well.
Thank you. I hope you'll allow me this pun. Congratulate you on your sterling work to get us to this point. So it's so exciting, and it's so visual. People will be beginning to see activity in that building where there hasn't been for such a long time. So thank you very much for your work. Thank you very much, particularly to Nick, James and Mark, for being here today. And no doubt we will be seeing you at future meetings. But thank you very much for being here today. And Camille, I hope you get better soon. Okay, that's so exciting. Right. So I'm now going to move to item 7 while everybody swaps over. And this is the Director of Public Health Annual Report. Professor Steve Madden will introduce the report, and Councillor Aspinall, I assume you will have something to say initially as well.
Thank you very much indeed, Chair. Some of you may know this and others don't always know this, but every year the Director of Public Health has duty to write an independent report on the health of the population they serve. The Council has a duty to publish this report. Today we present to you the first annual report of our Director of Public Health, Professor Steve Madden, which marks his first 12 months at the City, which has gone by very quickly. The theme for this year's report is on the health and well-being of women and girls in Plymouth. It provides strong and somewhat uncomfortable evidence that whilst the women in Plymouth live longer than men, they spend significantly more years in poor health. The report today is a call to action to councillors, partners, residents alike, to do all that we can to tackle the inequalities across our communities and to help the women of Plymouth to thrive. And we've just been advised recently that the government is going to be looking at a report for the men, so they don't need to feel neglected. Thank you.
Thank you. So I understand, Steve, that this is the first anniversary of your joining Plymouth City Council, and I think the first anniversary gift is a paper, and this is your paper to us. So I hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, elsewhere a chocolate bar would be given, but being the Director of Public Health, I'll take the paper instead. Thank you. So thank you for this opportunity today. The duty to provide an annual Director of Public Health report actually dates back 177 years. So I feel quite privileged that I'm able to provide the next iteration. As the Director of Public Health, it's both my duty and privilege to present the findings of this year's annual report, and as noted, my first annual report as the Director of Public Health for Plymouth. The focus of this year is on the health and well-being of women. The evidence is clear and compelling. Whilst women in our city live longer than men, they spend significantly more of those years in poor health. So this is not just a public health issue, but it is a matter of equity, dignity, and opportunity. Let me start with some stark comparison. So the average life expectancy for a woman in Plymouth is 62.4 years, close to the national average. But female healthy life expectancy is just 55.7 years, which is nearly 6 years below the English average. That means that thousands of women in our city are living long lives, but nearly spend 27 years in ill health with conditions that can severely limit quality of life and reduce their ability to thrive. This report frames around the 4 petals of the Thrive Plymouth programme: healthy body, healthy mind, healthy places, and healthy communities. It draws on quantitative data and qualitative insight, including the voices of 27 Plymouth women who participated in listening circles facilitated by Improving Lives Plymouth. Their stories are powerful and their experiences must inform our future decisions. Please consider these facts. Only 67.6% of women in Plymouth can be expected to live their lives in good health compared to 74.5% nationally. Over 36,000 women in Plymouth are likely to experience harassment each year. 1 in 5 women are considered disabled under the Equalities Act. 80% of women employed in Plymouth earn below the national median salary, and there are 1,330 young women that are not in work or education, which is significantly higher than their male peers. This year's Director of Public Health annual report does paint a sobering picture. So whilst women in Plymouth do live longer than men, they will spend a significant period of time in poor health. In fact, women in Plymouth lose over 5 years of healthy life compared to the national average. It's not a statistic, it's a call to action. Behind these numbers are real lives, women who wake up each day battling chronic pain, depression and anxiety, women who juggle caregiving, work and personal health and often putting themselves last. Women who face barriers to access basic healthcare, who feel unheard, unseen and unsupported. These figures reflect systematic challenges. They are shaped by our core determinants of health, including income, housing, the feeling of safety, access to green and blue space, and the ability to participate fully in the communities in which they live, work and play. We must also confront the gendered nature of the healthcare access. Women report long waiting issues for gynecological treatment, limited menopause support, and difficulty securing GP appointments. Many feel unheard, dismissed, gaslit when seeking care, and this is simply unacceptable. Mental health is another area of concern for the city. Nearly 20,000 women in Plymouth are estimated to experience common mental health problems. Girls report high levels of anxiety, body dissatisfaction, and a lack of control over their health. Violence against women and girls remains a national priority, and its impact on physical and mental health is profound. We must listen to the voices of the women of Plymouth who contributed to this report, who spoke through listening circles, surveys, and community projects. They told us about their struggles in regard to GP appointments, the fears of walking alone at night, the exhaustion of navigating menopause without support, and the trauma of violence that too many experience. This is not a report for reading and shelving, it's a report as a call to action. We must take this report to work together to strengthen trauma-informed services across the city, to ensure equitable access to screening, contraception, and menopause support, to address the gender gap and to support women into education and employment, and to create safer public spaces and improve online safety for girls and young women, essentially embedding lived experience into service design and policy development. So if I can ask councillors this afternoon, if you can consider through your portfolios, whether that be housing, transport, education or community safety, how you can contribute to tackling these challenges. Improving the health of life and girls in Plymouth is not a responsibility of one department or one councillor, it's a responsibility of a shared endeavour. This report seeks a commitment to build a city where every woman and girl can not just live longer, but healthier, safer and more fulfilling lives, where every woman and girl in Plymouth can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. As you say, it really is quite sobering. And thank you for putting the focus on women for your first report. I mean, there's a lot of food for thought there for all of us. I think we have to go away and put our minds to what we can all do to create a better, more fulfilling future for women in our city, and particularly those women that you spoke to, who gave us their time and their insight. Then it's incumbent on us to act on what they've told us. And if we get it right for women, then we will be getting it right for everybody. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say or share? Councillor Dan.
I think as I was reading this report, it just made me think that I wouldn't want anyone to think that we don't already have strategies that address some of the issues that were raised in the report. So I just quickly scribbled down a few things that I know that I've been involved with that we do as a council, because I think it's important. So if you look in the Thrive Active agenda, we know that women and girls get less active, generally speaking, as they get older. And we know that we need to do more in schools and when women are younger to enact in them that how positive it is for their future lifestyles to be active. And just things like, you know, the Devon FA and the Football Foundation are doing a lot of things to encourage women and girls to access sport. And as thanks to the Lionesses, you know, football is one of the biggest growing sports, but there's lots of proof that says that if girls play sport at a younger age, they're more likely to be active as they grow older, and also their families, and this is really important as well, are also more likely to be active. And in terms of sort of pay, when I was doing the sort of the cost of living things, which has now been sort of taken into the Building Bridges programme, we did a lot of work, and we're working with economic development already, working with organisations and employers to try and make sure that we close that pay gap, because women generally earn less money than men. I mean, I know these are general statements, but it is more women look after the household. So if we can improve their finances, so, you know, like politically removing the cap on child benefit, is going to make such a difference to how women can make sure that their families are better. And then I thought a little bit about Vogue, because we do a lot as a city. That whole thing when we're looking at, you know, Armada Way, and when we're looking at creating new spaces, we look about what is the safety for women and girls as they move around the city. And, you know, when I was Lord Mayor, Trevi and Gifted Women were my two charities who did so much work with women who were in the system because of complex needs. But also as a council, how we've led to try and change that culture, because you do talk a lot about culture in here. So the fact that we led on the man culture, which is trying to change the way that men react with women, is also really important. And then the final thing is about healthy spaces. And I think this is one of the great advantages of being in Plymouth. We have so much green and blue stuff around. If we can open the access to that, which is, you know, what Tom's been looking at in his nature plan, we can do so much to improve mental health. So as a city, I think we do quite a lot. I agree there's a lot more to do, but it's a great first report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary, did you want to add anything?
Thank you, Chair. I think one of the things that hits you is that we also need to be working with partners, and I'm presuming this would be taken to the local care partnership about how we get GPs and medical professionals on board about menopause and the problems that can cause women. Because personally, from talking to various sort of 40, 45-year-olds, they have minimal contact with GPs. GPs just do not seem to understand how important it is and how soul-destroying it is for a woman who's not getting any help. So I think we need to be making sure that happens. I mean, if we look at page 14 for us, it's saying about we had 13 women each month dying from causes that were considered preventable. That is shocking. It really is in this day and age. So, you know, that was varying things, but from lower back pain, major depression and migraine. We've got to do better, we really have, and certainly we need to be pressing the health services to get the things right. I can appreciate that no consultant in Derriford wants to start yet another appointment things up there, but let them come out to the community, let them, you know, come to some of our buildings. They could have their clinics there. We'd welcome them. So it's a really good report, and there's a lot of little pieces of evidence in here that probably all of us will understand, whether it's people having the green spaces, the blue spaces, and whatever. We've got a lot to work on this over the next year, and let's see if by this time next year we can have an update from the Director of Public Health to say where we are on that journey, I think that would be really worthwhile. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you, Mary. If I move on to the recommendations then, on page 5, Cabinet agrees to note the content of the Director of Public Health annual report, consider the final reflections and how they can be supported, acknowledge the contributions from women in the city and the organisations that support them, and commit to considering what more needs to be done to improve the health and well-being of women and girls in the city. Agreed? Lovely. Okay, thank you very much, Steve. So now we move on to corporate plan, and I think I am doing this in lieu of Councillor Penberthy being here, and I found my notes, so that's a relief. So I'm pleased to present Plymouth City Council's corporate plan monitoring report for the second quarter of 25-26, covering the period from July to September 2025. Rising public confidence. So the key points are rising public confidence in reporting antisocial behaviour, with 354 incidents reported in quarter 2 compared to 102 a year earlier. Early intervention strategies continue to prevent escalation of these issues. Strong operational delivery on highways maintenance, with carriageway works consistently achieving 96 to 100% on-time completion rates, and over 3,750 square metres of pavement improvements in the 6 months to September. Planning performance remains high, with 100% of major applications determined on time, no planning appeals overturned, though housing delivery has slowed slightly and unlocking stalled developments remains a priority. Improving educational outcomes, with 94% of primary schools and 84% of secondary schools now rated good or outstanding by Ofsted. We're particularly focused on improving attendance at secondary schools through our place-based working and belonging strategy. And whilst we're making strong progress in many areas, we recognise the ongoing challenges, particularly around health service pressures, NHS dental access and housing delivery. And the Council continues to work closely with partners to address these complex issues. Paul, welcome. I don't know if you want to add anything?
No, thank you. I think you've covered everything superbly, as always.
Thank you. Does anybody want to say anything? Councillor Lowry.
You've already made reference to it, and I'll be making reference probably again later on, but build more homes is one of our initiatives, and there is a record in here on page 12 of our progress with respect to that. But you will note from our progress that actually we've built less homes this year than we've ever built. So that's why it's incredibly important that we move forward with our agenda with Homes England to provide more homes, not just in our city centre, but across the city where we can. There are many people waiting, as you can see, thousands of people waiting on our list for new homes. So it's incredibly important that we move this forward and we improve significantly on our ability to deliver new homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to say anything? No? Okay, so, sorry, John.
Thank you. I just, there's lots of positives in this monitoring report. I'd like to pick up with my officers about public perception of street, because because that's something to be aware of. What is the public's perception? What's their expectation? But equally, traffic flow remains a challenge. Well, actually, it's interesting that the public perception of traffic flow remains a challenge because the public are in the traffic flow. So there's a message there. They're part of the traffic flow. So there's a message there about boosting public transport. And so on. So it's just, there's an opportunity here just to dig a bit deeper to find out what the story is. Thank you.
Thank you. What's that phrase? Yeah, you're not in traffic, you are traffic. You are traffic. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think this report is a pretty honest assessment of where we are succeeding and where more work is needed. And I think importantly, it really shows our commitment to transparency and accountability to the people of Plymouth. So I think what we have to do here is note the corporate plan monitoring report, quarter 2 of 2025-2026. Okay, thank you very much for joining us, Paul. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Excuse me, I'm going croaky now. So I move to item 9, council tax base setting 2026-27 and council tax support scheme 2026-27. Councillor Lowry will introduce the report, and Ian Trisgrove, Service Director for Finance, is also here. Over to you, Mark.
Hopefully your voice will last throughout the meeting. I will just say it, this is always the most exciting report I get to deliver every year, and everyone's looking forward to it, so I will just read out the detail, because it is, I always refer to it as a bit of an equation, really. So the council tax base represents the estimated number of Band D equivalent properties within the city, and its key component is determining the level of council tax for the coming year. It also incorporates assumptions on collection rates and adjustments for discounts and exceptions, including those arising from the council tax support scheme. For 2026/27, the recommended council tax base is 76,887, reflecting an increase of primarily 330 compared to the previous year's figure. This growth is primarily attributed to the modest increase in the number of chargeable dwellings and adjustments for long-term empty property premiums. The calculation assumes a prudent collection rate of 97.5% based on recent performance and economic condition. The council tax-based collection also incorporates a number of discounts and exceptions, including those arising from the council tax support scheme, which continues to provide vital assistance to households on low income, with around 20% of Plymouth households currently receiving support. In addition to the main council tax support scheme, the council also operates a discretionary exceptional hardship fund to support residents facing severe financial difficulty. The fund provides temporary help where support does not fully cover council tax liability, offering relief in exceptional circumstances such as ill health or sudden income changes. Following on from a review in 2025, the council decided not to make any changes to either of these schemes, ensuring their stability for residents and maintaining administrative efficiency. The cost of the overall scheme is expected to remain within the financial envelope, with increased costs driven primarily by the increase in council tax rather than the claimant number growing. And finally, Chair, I'd like to refer you back to a consultation that the government is undertaking, and it's about modernising and improving the administration of council tax. Views were sought from the council and residents. The consultation is now complete, and we're waiting for government to give us an update on their proposed changes, and we will continue to monitor those developments closely and provide you with the relevant updates once they're announced. This report will be presented to full council in January for their approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Ian, did you want to say anything?
I don't think there's anything else to add, Chair. I think all articulated from what's set out in that report, so thank you. Thank you, Councillor Lowry.
Thank you. So I'll move on to the recommendations.
Just add, because this is Ian's last Cabinet meeting with us, so I think on behalf of Cabinet, I would like to say thank you for all your very diligent, very hard and very committed to work with us. I know Cabinet have enjoyed working with you, and I have personally. You have picked up the realms very quickly in a very difficult and challenging subject matter. And I'm very grateful for the support you've given me personally, and I know my colleagues are as well. And we wish you both the best going forward, and hopefully you won't be a stranger to us, but the very best of luck to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well said, Mark. I echo all of that. So the recommendations are on page 39. Cabinet recommend to Council the council tax base for 26-27 of 76,887 equivalent Band D dwellings as set out in the report. 2, the continuation of the current council tax support scheme and exceptional hardship scheme for 2026-2027 with no updates. Agreed? Lovely, thank you. So now I move on to item 10, which is the food waste collection project. Councillor Briers-Delve will introduce the report. Andy Sharp, Interim Service Director for Street Services, and Rachel Hawadi, Senior Project Manager have joined us for this report. So over to you, Tom.
Thank you, Chair. He'll be back in a sec, I'm sure.
Apologies, and also Martins, I couldn't see, I thought it was Andy out of the corner of my eye. Apologies. So Tom, do you want to start?
Yes, I'm happy to introduce whilst we're waiting on Andy. So I just wanted to begin by saying that when I started this role a few years ago, it's fair to say that Plymouth has been behind the curve on food waste compared to some of our regional neighbours. Since then, the team have been working exceptionally hard to prepare. And actually, by the time the government announced that this was going to be a statutory service, we were in a far stronger position than some other local authorities nationally in order to respond to that expectation. People sometimes worry about change, so I wanted to begin with a few reasons why Plymouth finally having food waste is a really good thing and something that it would be lovely if everyone embraced. At the moment, Plymouth's food waste is incinerated at the energy from waste plant between Devonport and St Budo. And that isn't the most efficient option for food because food is made up of 70% water and therefore needs more energy to burn. And instead, by separating it out from other forms of rubbish and processing it through something called anaerobic digestion, which sounds much more complicated than it is in practice, you can create byproducts that are great for our local environment. And that includes things like renewable energy, biogas, and fertilizer. And I wouldn't normally do this, but it's sometimes useful to have a few facts to bring a subject like this to life. And so, did you know, for instance, that 9 recycled banana peels can generate enough electricity to fully charge a laptop? Or that 1 caddy load of food waste can generate enough electricity to power a home for almost an hour. And this is a resource that we're not utilising as a city at the moment. Plymouth's phased rollout of food waste collections will begin in March 2026. The rollout will be in 5 distinct phases, with phase 1 beginning in a few different neighbourhoods, but including parts of Devonport, Plympton, Plymstock, Stoke, Southway and Whitley. And I say parts there because the way in which this is designed isn't on ward boundaries and it's not clearly along neighbourhood boundaries. It's designed in terms of how rounds are already organised, and that's to make this as convenient as possible for residents to match bin days. Phase 1 of the rollout, which represents about a fifth of the city, is a carefully selected cluster of areas which has been chosen to represent a diverse mix of property types and communities, which will give us the best opportunity to continue to learn as we deliver this across next year. If residents Google Plymouth City Council food waste, what you'll see very quickly is a map of neighbourhoods included in the first phase, which gives you a sense of whether you're likely to be included. I've got to praise the work of, I believe, Liam and some of the kind of digitally minded people within Street Services have been working on a postcode checker. And so if you're unsure based on the map, just put your postcode in on the first line of your address and it will confirm very clearly whether you're in the first phase or whether you're going to be in one of those later phases later on in the year. I've already had colleagues saying, why aren't I in the first phase? And it's great to see people excited and wanting to be involved. I want to mention a few of the ways in which we want to make this service as easy as possible. Believe it or not, Plymouth has the simplest household recycling approach in the UK. If you think about what is done in Cornwall or the South Hams in terms of the number of recycling bins, all we're doing is adding 1 small caddy to your bin day. And actually the team have worked incredibly hard to ensure that the collection day is the same as your current routine to make that easy again. Not only will you be provided an outdoor caddy to present your food waste as you currently do with your bins, you'll get a smaller kitchen caddy to help collect your waste in a way that's convenient to you, although that is optional in terms of how you use it, and also a roll of liners to get you started. We've employed a new team of 4 officers who are all in some ways working on different approaches to recycling engagement, and that's all about boosting how we reach communities, schools, and local groups. I must confess to being one of the people who sometimes reads comments on social media, and there's a couple of themes that I want to take this opportunity to address today. One of those is about smell, and I completely get it. If we think about that word waste, if we think about food that might be going into our compost bins, think about it being slimy and smelly. However, the thing that I find interesting, having spent a lot of time working on this with the team, is that all we're simply proposing is to take the exact same food waste that you already put in your brown bin, to separate it out and to collect it twice as regularly. So at the moment, it's once every fortnight, and the food waste will be collected weekly. On top of that, the outdoor caddy has been designed with a lockable lid, so it keeps the waste and hopefully any associated smells within, which is of course a feature that we don't currently have with the brown bins that you're already putting your food waste in. The other comment which has cropped up a fair bit, and very understandably, is around cost. So let me be clear today, this is becoming a national statutory service, and it's one which will be primarily funded by national government. There have already been 3 stages of external funding streams. DEFRA has provided nearly £2 million of stage 1 capital funding for the procurement of vehicles and food waste containers. Excuse me. Stage 2 was for transitional revenue funding of just over £500,000, and that was largely dedicated to distribution and engagement. And we will soon be receiving final clarification of Stage 3 new burdens funding, which will relate to staff costs, vehicle operating costs, haulage and disposal. And I want to say that I'm grateful to the government for providing this substantial investment in this new service. If prior administration in Plymouth had done this, they would not have received the millions of pounds that we're getting from national government, and it's making it a huge difference. So to reiterate, this is an exciting opportunity to increase our city's recycling rate, to reduce emissions, and also to help families save money, because it can change shopping habits after seeing the amount of food waste that we all collect, let's be honest. There is lots more that I could say, but I'm conscious that the team are going to add a few details. And also, every single home will be receiving further information via their screens and also through their door in the coming year. And last of all, I wanted to thank everyone who has worked on this service over the last couple of years. Andy's leadership as a new Director of Street Services has been invaluable. Rachel's passion for the topic, and particularly about how to do behaviour change well, has really been inspiring. And also Martin's experience in fleet management. Fleet management isn't always the most glamorous of council areas, but his experience in it has been essential, because by going to vehicle procurement early, before the market was saturated, bearing in mind that 50% of local authorities are scrabbling to get these vehicles at the same time, this man has saved the council thousands of pounds, and we should all be grateful for that. So pass over to the team, and we're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Who wants to go first?
Hi, so myself and Rachel will present. Rachel's the project manager and sort of overseeing the project from not quite conception, but certainly early part of 2024. So we're just going to bring up a few slides, and I'll let Rachel sort of kick off.
Yes, I'll start with the first few slides. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. And I want to reiterate, and I think it will be important for people to have the understanding that we are doing this as a result of a legislative drive. Plymouth has had the passion for food waste recycling, and we've done research in the past on food waste recycling. We are a part of another 170 local authority, waste collection authorities in England who are doing exactly the same thing. So the food waste initiative is not something that is unique to Plymouth. It is something that is affecting all waste collection authorities in the city. And as Thomas mentioned, we have worked very hard to make sure that we don't have any disruption to existing services. And we have already procured 10 vehicles and containers. The containers that we've procured are from recycled material, and they're recycled at the end of life as well. It's already been mentioned that the food waste will be going to an anaerobic digestion process, a very interesting process that mimics the alimentary canal, the digestive system, to produce biogas and methane and electricity. And so we can honour our net zero action plans and ensure that we have a more sustainable city.
And if we go to the next slide, there are benefits to the food waste program in that we are envisaging our recycling rates going up as a result of the service coming on board. What we have seen with Cornwall, for example, is that the recycling rates increased from something like 34% to 44%, not just because of food waste recycling, but because of the overhaul of their recycling. But food waste was a big part of that increased the recycling. We're also hoping another important benefit, which Tom has already touched on, is that we're hoping to introduce savings as a result of using the anaerobic facility, simply because it's roughly a third cheaper to process food waste in an AD site than it is in the energy from waste site. So Andy's going to talk to us a bit more on the funding.
So Tom really covered this section. So just very, very briefly, obviously, like Tom said, there will be 3 phases of funding. So we have the capital, that's well underway, obviously vehicles, containers, etc. And just in the final stages of reallocating some of that money within the same envelope to fund some site improvements to accommodate the vehicles and also the transfer of waste at Chelsea Meadow. As well as liners for the caddies, which are a sort of key element to get people to use the service. Tom mentioned the DEFRA transitional funding, which was for this year that we're in now, getting us ready for mobilisation, and the new burdens funding, although yet to be announced. Just to make a key point for the business case, which is what's been approved through Cabinet, we've had to assume what that funding will be. So sort of set out on the slide there, but 600,000 for next year and then 800,000 in future years. You know, that it could be more than that, and it could be less, but we'll see what the allocation is. But we present a business case which is balanced and is achievable. So in terms of, there's obviously a lot of detail on this slide, but just to give you kind of an overview, that the forecast total funding, we're just showing a slight net improvement against our base budget. So this year's, so 25-26, there's a overall benefit which we factored into budget monitoring, and then we're expecting a slight improvement against budgets next year and the year after. And this is against a £4.2 million total cost over the 4 years that's set out in the business case. So just to hand you back to Rachel.
So by now, residents of Plymouth have seen and have got an idea. So it's less opaque now what we're doing, what areas we're going to cover. So these are parts of the city that we're going to cover: Devonport, and we're going to include Keyham in that, Plimpton, Plymstock, Stoke, Southway, Tamerton, Folliot, and Whitley. So we've deliberately, as Tom mentioned, deliberately selected these areas to reflect different socio-demographics, to look at flats, houses in multiple occupations, areas perhaps that have high recycling rates with areas that have low recycling rates. So we get a full picture of how we can deliver this to the rest of the city. So that will be our first phase, which we're going to start in the new year. We're going to start with distributing containers, followed by collections starting in March. So later on, do you want to say something? Later on in the year, we're really going to give ourselves a good chunk of time to learn from phase 1 about behaviour, and following that, we're going to go on to our subsequent phases 2, 3, 4, 5. We're looking to finish our collection around November. And what I'm really passionate about, as has been mentioned already, is how we're going to talk to the public, how we're going to engage with people, understand what they're thinking, communicate them through different modalities. We're really hoping to be going to schools. We're hoping to have road shows. We're hoping to visit all the supermarkets. And thanks to Councillor Lang, we think we might be in the box and have a stand there where people walking by will be able to see what food waste is going to look like, what the containers are going to look like. Really, this is a journey for all of us. It's not a situation where the council is doing something. We want everyone to come on board with us on this journey of food waste, because we think it's really, really important for the future.
And maybe just a brilliant presentation, Rachel, just to add, We do this all the time, so we're delivering over 500,000 collections at certain points in the month, across Plymouth properties. We rolled out the changes to garden waste, and it's gone really successful. We've got a really good team. Everyone's really passionate about delivering this and making it a success. So just to give you some assurance that we're good team behind it and we're on it. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Criswell.
I just wanted to start off by saying thank you to Rachel, because you did the presentation to the head teachers, leaders, which would have been, I think it was on the 27th of November. And what was really interesting in that that presentation, a bit of discussion afterwards, of course, is that schools are actually doing this already, and very keen, and lots of enthusiasm, in fact, from pupils, from our children and young people who are actually quite actively involved in some of this as far as schools are concerned. So I'd be really interested about some of the, and I think it was people were very grateful that you came along and did that presentation. I think it'd be interesting to know what sort of options and such you'll be able to offer in terms of engaging with schools. And one of the things that I'm finding really interesting is there must be some great fun facts, because the banana peel one, and let's face it, the whole thing about the anaerobic digestion and the intestines, you can see that immediately, excuse me, appealing to children. So again, thanks ever so much that early morning that you did, and if you can give some idea of the kind, because one of the things you said is it's not going to be a boring presentation coming into children. It's going to be quite, dare I say, hands-on.
Sorry. Thank you so much for that. We really want to make it fun. We want to have mascots. We want to have games. We want to make it three-dimensional, have props, so that they're able, when they go home, they're able to have a conversation with their parents. We want the information to stick in their minds, and we want to reinforce it, maybe not have more than one session. And we want to bring it into the curriculum as well. We've done a few sessions actually at the Energy from Waste already with the school children. We wanted to learn what Devon and other areas are doing already. So we're in partnership already with them, and we've seen what they do, and we want to mimic that and do the same, but tailor it for Plymouth and do the same in our schools. Go to assemblies, go to workshops, create presentations that are fit for purpose for that age group. So perhaps we do mascots for the younger ones, key stage, the 8 and 9-year-olds, and perhaps a more serious one. I was really surprised to learn how much children know compared to when I was at school. They're all doing solids, liquids, and gases and things like that. And I remember doing that at O-levels and A-levels and things like that. So we are already in partnership, and that's going to be an important area for us to engage with the children, the younger ones. And we're just trying to learn what's going to work best for them and talk to the teachers and the head teachers as well.
I was just going to say these are just the sorts. Sorry, I was just going to say they're just the sorts of things that really engage children, and it'd be really exciting to develop that as part of the school curriculum. Thanks very much.
Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. It was interesting, Rachel, in your great presentation from all of you, how you said people will learn about the process as it's rolling out. My ward neighbours South Hams, and at a councillor surgery on Saturday morning, 3 separate residents came along, 2 neighbouring South Hams, 1 further in the ward, who welcomed this move because they've been envious over the last couple of years, seeing their South Hams neighbours, because they're literally across the road in places, having this opportunity. But essentially, not only did they buy up with the principle of it, they're glad that it's a simpler process as well in there. And I've just got a question, because obviously this is going to be a weekly rollout as opposed to 2 weekly now for food waste. If there is a missed collection, will people have a chance to have a recollection that week, because the caddies only have so much capacity, or will they just have to put it in the brown bin as they do now? What's the process for missed collections, please?
Do you want to answer that? Or do I?
Yeah, we've built in, and in the business case as well, that we wouldn't provide miscollections because we're doing it on a weekly basis, the sort of inefficiency of going back. And by the time it gets reported and we've got to respond within 2 days, you're already getting close to the next week. So it's not ideal, but in terms of the cost benefit analysis, we think it's probably best to either hold on to it or put it in the brown bin.
And the cost of a vehicle going back, you have to think holistically about net zero emissions and so on. So
best to not to waste the food and not to waste the emissions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lowry.
I've got a tea towel at home from Plymouth City Council. It's older than a lot of us are in this room, but and it sets out composting. Compost. No, it's I keep my house very clean, I'll have you know. And the tea towel sets out what can be composted and what cannot be composted. And it's a very good reminder. Is there any do's and don'ts, for instance, that are going to come out with this? So, as example, I'm a beekeeper. So can I put the wax in there as an example, or is there somewhere I can go to have a look at that type of stuff to make sure that I'm putting the right things in there? Because I know it's a bit obvious, it's food collection, but we all see that somewhat different.
We are going to have leaflets that are going to be very specific about what you can put in your caddy. Some things could be a surprise, like tea bags and ground coffee, for example. When you're organic material, basically that's degradable. That can be broken down, carbon, hydrogen, broken down into its components. For composting, for example, we have a very healthy composting community in Plymouth, in vessel composting, and they, for example, wouldn't put bones and scrapings, things like that. They would use more so the peelings, whereas in your caddy, you can put peelings as well as fish bones and so on. But we will have a very clear leaflet everywhere that will show people what you can and can't put in your caddy. Well, just to clean out, if you have oil and things like that, that can make it quite difficult to process in the AD site. But we are very specific about what you can put in there.
Thank you. Have you thought about a tea towel that somebody can talk about in 50 years' time? I recommend you watch that. Yeah. Okay. I take your point about social media, reading comments on social media, and I'm trying to do that, less of that myself. But actually, one of the things that has really come through in the comments about this is the greatest advocates are the people who are already doing this, who are, saying, well, it's no big deal, basically, is what it boils down to. My sister lives in Hammersmith, and she regularly expresses complete disbelief, really, that we're not doing it yet. So I've been very happy to tell her that we are, and actually for us, then that gives us an advantage because we can learn all the lessons and all the mistakes and pitfalls that other authorities have gone through. Sorry, Councillor Aspinall.
No, it's all right. Obviously, once this gets launched, we're going to have the rest of the councillors saying, when's my turn? So how quickly will you figure out who's in which band afterwards?
Take this one. So we currently have 5 phases planned out already. So that's been part of the internal planning. But we've so far only published the first phase because we want to be very, very clear for those residents who are going to be included. As part of that learning journey, we don't want to anticipate what we think the results are of that kind of first pilot stage. So it might be necessary to tweak that so that we can focus behaviour change work on certain demographics or to look at efficiencies with the service. So once that we're operating on our first phase and considering next steps, they'll be getting significant notice. So there's a kind of 6-week period of comms activity running up to every phase where they'll get postcards, they'll get targeted adverts on Facebook, on community groups. So there's no risk of people knowing when it's their turn. And just to reassure everyone, you'll get food waste next year. It's just a matter of when in those 5 phases.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Do you have anything else that you want to add? I want to say thank you because I've been to quite a few sessions, particularly where Rachel has talked about the engagement, and it's been so imaginative, and I can't really think of an area that you haven't covered. And so hopefully this isn't going to come as a surprise to anybody who it's heading their way. There'll be something through their door, on their screen, all bases covered, basically. And, you know, it's time we had it, and it's great that we're getting it. So if I move to recommendations on page 47, it's to approve the revenue business case and associated phased rollout of Plymouth City Council's household food waste collection service. Is that agreed? Agreed. Lovely. Thank you very much. So now I am going to move on to item 11, which is Plymouth Citywide All-Age Unpaid Carers Strategy 2025 to 2027. I think we're going to be joined by some people, but Councillor Aspinall, do you want to introduce the report while they all take their places?
I'm pleased to introduce the Plymouth Citywide All-Age Unpaid Carers Strategy 2025 to 2027. This strategy represents a shared commitment across our city to ensure that Plymouth is a place where unpaid carers are recognised and valued for the incredible work they do every single day. Our vision is clear: a community where carers are acknowledged as essential partners in care, their contributions celebrated and their needs fully supported. This strategy has been co-created by Plymouth City Council, Live Well South West, University Hospitals Plymouth, St Luke's and Improving Lives Plymouth, working alongside unpaid carers themselves, whose voices have shaped its priorities and remain at its heart. It is more than a document, it is a pledge to work together to make Plymouth a truly carer-friendly city. And our team is here.
Thank you. So we welcome, you haven't got a thing, so I'm going to say who's here. So Carlina, who is Senior Commissioning Officer, Louise Ford, Head of Commissioning, and Claire Sterling from Live Well. So who wants to start? Okay, you need to put your mic on. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you. Lou Ford, Head of Commissioning for Adults and Children's Services. So firstly, just to reiterate what Mary said around the development of the carers strategy, it really is recognising the importance and the value of the work that our carers do in our local communities. And it's an all-age strategy covering both adults and children's carers. As said, it's been developed in collaboration with colleagues across the health system and also with carers themselves. So we're really reflecting that voice of the person with lived experience. The strategy itself sets out some really clear priorities for how we support our carers moving forward, with clear implementation plan and a governance through the Carers Strategic Partnership Board. So I'm going to hand over now to Carlina and Claire, who will take you through a presentation on the strategy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Afternoon, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here. My name's Claire Sterling and I'm the Patient Experience Manager for Live Well South West, and I have a role in looking after our unpaid carers and making sure they receive the support that they need.
Hi, I'm Carlina Hall. I work for Plymouth City Council in Strategic Commissioning and I'm the Young Carers Lead.
Lovely. So we'd just like to take a few minutes of your time this afternoon just to go through the strategy and how it's been formed and what we're hoping to achieve and how far we've got with its rollout. So the Plymouth All-Age Unpaid Carers Strategy is really in recognition of the incredible work and contribution that our unpaid carers are making in the city, and the vital role and the value that they play and the time that they take with looking after people within their homes. So we came together, a number of partners came together to co-produce the carer strategy, and that's with carers, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. And it contains 6 priorities that the carers have developed, which aims to support unpaid carers over the next 3 years. And it addresses the needs of carers of all ages and all backgrounds, and it aims to create an inclusive and a caring environment for those providing unpaid care, and also helps as a decision-making guide for us who are involved in delivering the strategy. So who are carers? So we have a definition that we follow from the Carers Trust. So a carer is anyone, including children and adults, who look after a family member, a partner, a friend who needs help, either because of illness, of frailty, disability, mental health problems, or an addiction, and cannot cope without their support. So the care that they provide is unpaid. We also have young carers. So young carers fall under the same definition, but are under the age of 18. So some facts and figures for you just to set the scene. So women have a 50-50 chance of providing care by the time they are aged 46, men by the time they are aged 57. 11 years later, women are more likely to provide care and more likely to be working part-time. In Plymouth, based on the last census, we have just over 23,000 carers in the city. And the Plymouth School Census 2025 this year identified 846 young carers in schools. A further 516 were recorded on Eclipse, which is one of the systems that we use. So as of September this year, we have 1,299 young carers that are known to children's services, and those span secondary schools and also primary schools as well. So some of the challenges that we know that our carers are facing, systematic problems in social care sector, retention and recruitment crisis, insufficient funding, so low pay and over-reliance on informal family and friend carers, and we are seeing more what we'd refer to as excessive caring from people. We have an ageing population, so people are living longer with conditions and the care is being brought closer to home. And caring will feature in more people's lives in future. The statistics are that every day 12,000 people become unpaid carers, and on average 1 in 3 of us will be an unpaid carer at some point. So carers are more likely to have health issues as well. So data has shown health inequalities between those caring for disabled, older and ill relatives and friends and those that are not. In 2024, the GP survey in England showed that 70% of carers have long-term physical or mental health conditions, a disability or an illness, and this is compared to 59% of non-carers. Carers are less likely to work and more likely to be in poverty. For carers allowance, the main carers benefit is the lowest benefit of its kind at £83.30 per week, and that's based on 2025-26 rates. And young carers, they have a significant impact on attendance in their education, attainment at school, and also access to higher education, employment and training opportunities. And numerous studies have highlighted that physical and mental health impact of caring on young carers is significant. So young carers who are caring for 35 hours or more a week are 86% less likely to obtain a degree and 46% less likely to enter employment. So our strategy, so the Plymouth All Age Unpaid Carer Strategy, it's available on Plymouth Online Directory. We have the full strategy available. We also have an easy read version, a one-page summary and an audio version as well, so fully accessible. So who's it for? Most importantly, it's for our unpaid carers in the city of all ages and backgrounds. It's also for those who work with carers and including employers. It's also for us as a Carers Strategic Partnership Board. So we have a board that's a collaborative board. I think sometimes we forget that we're all from different organisations, but we work really closely together. And that's made up of Plymouth City Council, UHP, Live Well, St Luke's Hospice. We have the Worsley Trust, Department for Work and Pensions. I'm sure I've missed a few, but there's a number of us. And we meet on a quarterly basis and we look at different aspects of the strategy. We also have carers that come along as well and also Health Watch, and we look at how we implement the strategy. The strategy is also for other voluntary and community and social enterprise organisations in the city that are working with us to make things better for our unpaid carers. So how was it formed? So when we came to look at the carer strategy, we put a task and finish group together. So we have a core working group that's come from the Carer Strategic Partnership Board, and they formed a task and finish group and first off looked at some of the research and the statutory guidance around the carers policy work and strategy. We then put a survey out to our carers in the city to get some feedback and reviewed that. And then we also did a number of care engagement sessions as well. So carers' time is really tight, but we're able to pull a couple of groups together to talk to them, and they helped us to form the priorities that is in the strategy. So I'm going to hand over to Carlina to take you through those.
Thank you. So, the co-produced strategy, as Claire mentioned, developed some 6 priority areas, and these are for both adult carers and for young carers. So, although there's no specific ones for young carers theme runs throughout all of these, and young carers were also included as part of the focus groups and the surveys as well. So we did engage with all age carers as part of this development of this strategy. So the first priority is about access to services and making sure that we have a wide range of services available. So in Plymouth we have services for young carers, and that's in the form of a Time for You partnership, which is between a commissioned service, the Children's Society, and the in-house community youth team. And then there's also a young adult carers service, which is through a commissioned service through Improving Lives Plymouth, and that's for 18 to 25-year-olds. And then the adult carer service is also provided by Improving Lives Plymouth, often known as Caring for Carers. So we have a wide range of providers. They've all been involved in the development of this strategy. They're all involved in the Carer Strategic Partnership Board and the development of the action plan delivery of the activities. So it's all of us working together to deliver this. It's really important in order to be able to get a cohesive and coordinated response for our carers in Plymouth. And also enhancing the coordination between services themselves, and that includes adult social care and other services and other health and social care services. The second priority is about financial support. So in terms of carers, they are disproportionately affected financially by their caring roles and responsibilities, and that includes young carers as well. So one of the things that we're doing at the moment is looking at how we can engage through the Employers for Carers programme, which is about promoting identification of carers and how they can be supported through SME organisations, and also the work of the DWP, who are working with us at the moment to co-produce some more young person friendly carers allowance information, so that we can increase the number of young carers aged 16 and 17 who are entitled to carers allowance, who may not be claiming it at the moment. And then the third priority is about improving health, safety and wellbeing of our unpaid carers, and that's through various means, as Claire mentioned earlier. Emotional health, wellbeing, mental health is a particular challenge for all carers of any age because of the caring responsibilities, and making sure that we don't have carers that are undertaking inappropriate tasks or inappropriate levels of tasks as well. And those responsibilities, it's really important to be able to identify and support carers not only in their caring role but also within their emotional health and wellbeing, and that might be through linking them with other services that are available, but also developing services. So for young carers, we might want to link them in with the new My Way emotional health and wellbeing services, which are being developed, and also one of the partners within that is the young carers Time for You partnership, which is the community youth team, who are also part of that My Way partnership. So they are also looking at how they can develop support for young carers and emotional health and wellbeing services in Plymouth. The fourth priority is about early identification and recognition of unpaid carers, and this is looking at how we can, so some of the ways we can do this is through raising awareness of young carers, so helping them to identify young carers and carers as early as possible. So for example, Live Well, through their Triangle of Care accreditation, are rolling out a training awareness programme for carers throughout their service, but we also have awareness raising training that is available through our Time for You partnership and through our Caring for Carers partners as well, delivery partners as well. And that's to help to identify carers throughout our system, and that's free and readily available to any partner who wants to have that available for their staff team. There's also priority number 5 is about improving information, advice and communication. And so one of the things we're looking at is about developing online information, but also printed information, so that the information is available to everyone and also is available in different languages and different formats. We're also looking at developing online platforms as well. So there is the possibility of rolling out a new digital offer to young carers and adult carers in Plymouth. And the carers themselves, including the services, will be involved in the development of that and how that looks centrally. We also look at how we can make sure the information is available on a single platform and what that looks like, and how we can make sure we coordinate and have consistent messaging for carers across the whole system. For priority number 6, about how your caring role might change, this is about transitions, and this is really important for all age carers, because you might have some carers who are, their caring role is changing or ending, and what that might mean. So that might mean bereavement support. It also might mean support getting those carers back into work, or helping them to for them to go back into work. For young carers, that might be the transition from education into the next stages of their life. That might be employment or higher education, and it's about that supportive transition pathway to make sure that those caring responsibilities are not restricting the aspirations of any of our carers. For young carers, we have a health determinant research collaboration project, which is looking at developing the transition pathway for young carers in Plymouth, and that includes a new transition assessment, which is going to be co-produced with young carers alongside the guidance and the pathway documentation, so everyone's clear on what that means. And that's about supporting them going from becoming a young carer into potentially a young adult carer, or ending their caring role entirely. The implementation of the plan. So we have a working group from the Carer Strategic Partnership Board. They meet regularly, and they've drafted the action plan. And we do meet regularly to make sure that the action plan is updated prior to the Carer Strategic Partnership Board. We give updates to the Carer Strategic Partnership Board on a regular basis as well, for a couple of the priority areas at a time. And this allows partners not only to understand and monitor the progress of the action plan, but to help them to contribute towards it as well as we go. We have each of the partners of the Carer Strategic Partnership Board are actually leading on each of the priority work streams. So we have the 6 work streams led by different partners in the Carer Strategic Partnership Board, which is really important because it makes sure that the partnership has ownership of the priorities, and each of the partners are brought into not only the concept of the strategy, but actually the delivery of the action plan, which is really important. We also make sure that so we had a previous Carer Strategic Partnership Board plan, and we've integrated any outstanding actions from that into our new carer strategy to make sure that we're not missing out on any gaps or any other issues. It's reviewed regularly, and we make sure that that's updated again with activities and actions from our partners, and that's fed back through the Carer Strategic Partnership Board. Progress of the actions are reported back through that group. How will we make sure it's making a difference? So with the action plan, we've made sure that we have got qualitative and quantitative measures for each of the 6 priority areas. We'll make sure that we receive regular feedback from carers of all ages to check progress and make sure that it's actually having the outcomes that we've planned for. Assessing improvements in carers' physical and mental health through check-ins, for example. Tracking an increase in number of young carers identified, and that could be through, for example, the school census, which is an annual census, but also through other carers registers and other means. We also are measuring the participation of carers in the community, so that could be the attendance at activities and support groups. It could be how we make sure that the carers are involved in the decision making that affects them. And also reviewing policy and systemic changes, and that's really important because we need to make sure that all partners are incorporating carers into their policies, for example, their safeguarding policies, or for us, our specifications for when we're commissioning services, for example. There is another Carers Strategic Partnership Board project, which is the Health Determinants Research Collaboration, which is just starting. which is looking at how we measure the impact of the strategy in Plymouth through a research project, and we're hoping that will be a 12 to 14 month project, I think, which will show us the progress and the outcomes and the impact of developing this unique co-produced strategy and its impact on carers in Plymouth. In terms of the one of the aspects that was mentioned in the strategy is the No Wrong Doors for Young Carers. So the No Wrong Doors for Young Carers is a memorandum of understanding which has been developed by the Carers Trust. And what that does is it seeks to have all system partners coordinated and working together to deliver the best outcomes for young carers. It also includes young adult carers and transition pathways, and this is where our HDRC transition project sits. So what we're hoping is that it will help to identify, provide a whole family approach as a system, and also raise awareness of young carers, and also provide a smooth transition from young carers to adult carers services if required for the young carer. The Memorandum of Understanding is signed by a whole range of partners, including members of the Carer Strategic Partnership Board and others. So Director of Adult Social Care, Director of Children's Services, so David Haley, Gary Wallbridge, the ICB, Live Well, UHP, Time for You Partnership, which is the Young Carers Offer, as I've mentioned, Improving Lives, which is the Adult Carers provider, and also the Cabinet members as well for health, adult social care, children's social care and education, who are around the table today. And I just wanted to say thank you to all the partners who have contributed to this strategy and the action plan. And in particular, I wanted to say thank you to Kate Lattimore, who couldn't be here today, but who has been really instrumental in getting this strategy published and driving it forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Aspinall.
Thank you, Chair. I think if we think about the Director of Public Health report earlier on today, you can see where things are going, particularly for youngsters, and we really need to make sure that schools keep on top of who do they know are young carers, and we need to be getting that off the ground. Certainly from adult carers, they're trying to balance that life sometimes between being out in the earning capacity and then having to look after somebody. If you think about the number of hours they have to commit, yeah, it's crazy. It really is, and we need to be really supportive. And I think this is a good first stop to make sure that we're on board with that. And I look forward to seeing how many people come forward, because that's the thing, we don't always know who's a carer, do we? So it's getting those numbers. Thank you.
Tom.
I must admit I wasn't planning on saying anything on this item, but reading it over the weekend and reflecting on what you've said today, I just wanted to touch upon a couple of things. And I think at Cabinet we get a breadth of documents, some of which can be quite dry on occasion. And I think one of the things that makes this really special is it's something that lots of people relate to on a personal basis, whether it's more middle-aged Cabinet members thinking about caring for their own parents, no offence, or grandparents who might be looking after a grandchild with disabilities on a very regular basis. Or in my case, this is something that some of my colleagues won't know, I was not quite a young carer, but just after I turned 18, I was a full-time carer for my grandmother when she got diagnosed with dementia. Moved in with her for a year so that she didn't have to go into a care home. And it was one of the most special years of my life. In the summer months, I'd live in a shed in the middle of her garden. She used to come in and touch my head in the night, so it's better being in the shed. And it was a massive learning curve for me, but it's one that I look back on incredibly fondly. And looking back through some of the kind of priorities that you've selected and just thinking about, I wasn't at all connected into these kind of networks or advice. I didn't get any kind of carers allowance. The local authority wouldn't have been aware of it. Sometimes would have doctors being confused why I was turning up, kind of making demands in the medical sense as opposed to older relatives. So, I think just thinking about how other younger people, people of any generation, could benefit from these kind of options. I think it's really exciting. And yeah, just can't wait to see how that benefits the many thousands of people across the city that fall into those situations, sometimes in ways that they wouldn't have expected. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Tom. John, did you want to say something?
Thank you. It's a fascinating document, and thanks for sharing it as well verbally, because it's really interesting. And well done on page 23 of the report. It states that the carer satisfaction, 131, isn't it? 23 of the report has anyone in the room. 131 if in the room. How Plymouth improved from 113th to 11th nationally with the satisfaction. That's great news. This can only enhance that obviously further. With people living longer now and we aren't getting sicker soon and so on, do you often get the cases where some people are caring for a child or a younger adult in their home as well as another adult? It could be a partner, sibling, parent. And what additional support might be available for those people who are kind of sandwich carers, where they have to care for an adult and a younger person?
So yeah, unfortunately that is quite common. So we have a lot of parents who are caring for a child and may also be caring for elderly parents or, as you said, a partner. So there is support for if they're caring for their own child, for parents who have children with disabilities through the Children with Disabilities team. There's also support for them as an adult carer, and what we hope through the work of this strategy is that we can better coordinate that support around the family. So we take a whole family approach rather than looking at them as an adult carer or a carer of a parent carer. So rather than looking at them as two separate roles, look at them as one family and how we can best coordinate the support around that family. Unfortunately, that's quite common.
Sue.
You mentioned digital a couple of times when you were talking. So I just wanted to know, in terms of qualitative, you're assessing, you're tracking, you're measuring, so you're doing a lot of digital stuff. So have you got, as part of your memorandum of understanding, a data sharing platform so that you're only telling the story once and everything goes into one platform? So I'm using your advanced digital technology. And then the second question is that part of our way of working looking forward is part of City Health and Support. And I just looked at one of your key principles when it says using a whole family approach. So I just wanted to know if this project, this strategy, this way of working is linking in with what we're doing with the City Health and Support strategy, which is about identifying families that might need additional support so that they can manage their living, really. And it hasn't really come out in here. I just want to make sure that because we've got these projects across the council developing, I just want to make sure that everything is linked in.
In terms of the digital technology question, for our quantitative reports, we have a dashboard that's been built, which can track all of the young carers that are known to us across children's services. That's the MRI, which was previously Capita Education System, and the Eclipse, which was the social care system. So we know all of the young carers, and we can see that through our digital dashboard. For our young carers' feedback and the adult carers' feedback, there are regular feedback opportunities for qualitative feedback. What we don't have is a systematic way of bringing the qualitative feedback together like we do for the quantitative, but that is definitely an ambition for the future. The City Help and Support Board, we haven't presented there yet, but I have been to several of the FFP meetings. So I went to the FFP meeting, and I'm going to the Health and Protection one, and I'm also going to the front door, the FFP front door as well, which I think links into that work. To talk about this piece of work, but I haven't been to the front door one yet. I've been invited by Grace, I haven't been yet.
Yeah, I suppose the only thing I'd add on to that is that as part of size sort of area is, when we talk about a resident or anybody in the city what our front door looks like. So for me, it was also about quick. You don't have to answer the question now, but it's about quickly accessing the services that are available, which links up with what Tom was just talking about. Because sometimes it's not all that easy. That if you came in through the council website, where do you go to the next? Where are you signposted to? What does that front door look like? And this is a key project that could really enhance what we're doing as a council, is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to come back in on that as well, to say that because we've developed this as a multi-agency approach, then we would link into that integrated neighbourhood team space and all of the work as well that's going on out in our communities. So thinking about the health and wellbeing hubs, the work with the family hubs, and also more kind of taking that strategic approach through that citywide help and support programme at that high level. So yeah, we're looking at all those front doors and making sure that we would have the information out there in the right places. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think it's interesting, isn't it? It's about, you maybe wouldn't have termed yourself a young carer. And I went to a really lovely event with our young carers a couple of months ago where it was a poetry event and I wrote a poem on the spot, and actually I was reflecting on my own childhood and some aspects of that where I suppose I had been a carer for my mum, but I didn't think of myself that way, and I wouldn't have even thought to access support. So I think the more that we talk about it, the better. I mean, I think this is just a really thorough, really trauma-informed, incredibly thoughtful strategy, and I really welcome it, and I really welcome the thread through it, talking about young carers. I know about the amazing work that Kerry and her team do, and obviously Children's Society and Improving Lives Plymouth as well. So there is support there. It's just incumbent on all of us in all the ways that we can to make sure that people, A, recognise themselves as people entitled to access that support, and then to get the information to them about how they can do that. Mary, did you want to finish up, or...?
Just to say a big thank you to all the team. Unfortunately, I've only managed to make one of their meetings because my diary's got quite a few bits and pieces in. But certainly when I can, I go along there because, as I say, that enthusiasm is really worthwhile.
Thank you. So if I turn to the recommendations, there's one recommendation which is to endorse the strategy and ongoing activity to support unpaid carers in Plymouth. I think we're probably all going to agree to that. Agreed? Lovely. Thank you very much, Claire, Carlina and Louise, for joining us. So now I'm going to move on to item 12, which is Plymouth City Council People Strategy. Can we have a comfort break? We want to adjourn the meeting. Okay, can we do that?
You can adjourn the meeting for those waiting at home and watching at home. I think you'll need to, just need to say that we'll have.
Yeah, we are having a 5-minute break and we'll be back at 16:08. Hello, thank you. Now we are back from our quick break, and I am going to hand over to Councillor Dan, who will introduce the Plymouth City Council People Strategy.
Thank you. Apologies for those online who had to wait, but I hope it's worth it. So this is our people strategy, which we've already started working to, but it's the first time that we've brought it to Cabinet. It's been a while in the making, but I think that is because it is a really collaborative strategy. We've worked with a lot of stakeholders, we've worked with our trade unions, and we've engaged with our workforce, talking to over 300 members of staff. The reason it's important, because I think it sets out the context of the City Council as an employer. Because in the city as an employer now, there are great opportunities, but there are also issues as well. We're getting a lot of economic investment into the city. We're going to have more skills needed. We're going to need people with more new jobs on offer. And we need to make sure that we remain an employer of choice. And to do that, we have to look at what we want to do in the future. So some of that might be about embracing digital skills. It's about looking at the age of our workforce. We've got quite a few people who are over the age of 50, and we need to backfill with younger people. So that might be learning and teaching and extra training and new skills. And we need to look at what our workforce is. I mean, it's just interesting looking at the carer strategy here. So when we look at our workforce, it is paid employees. It's the people also that we work with as our subcontractors. We can include our volunteers, and we have to make sure that we have a wide offer so that when people come and work for us, we recognise what they do. We are a city that is changing, so we want to make sure that we're a diverse city, that we're really inclusive, and that we attract people. We're not starting from a standing start, which is what I've said. So the strategy is landing, but we've already been working towards it. Over the last year, 100 of our staff have completed 11.5 Management and Leadership Development Programme. You know that I've been talking about our digital academy and our apprenticeships over the course of the years, and this is all part of the developing strategy to make sure that people, when they come here, they have the right skills for the job, but also that they want to stay. I think the most important thing, though, is this is Chris and his P's now. He does like the P as a letter. So we talk about Plymouth as a place, but of course it's a people strategy. So for me, it's about the people. We have to show how we value our staff, how we want to develop our staff, how we support our staff. Because when you're looking at new places to work, we want people to look at Plymouth and think, you know what, that would be a great place to work. We do a great job. We're a public service, but look what it's like to work there. We talk about Plymouth as a place, so we want to represent that place. We want to be inclusive. We want to be that respectful organisation. As councillors, we're only as good as the teams that we work with. So we want our staff to be passionate about what they do. We want them to come to work and really enjoy what they do. Be innovative, be brave, because we have to deliver, because that's our purpose, really, really good services to people across the city. So hopefully when you read this strategy, you'll see that it is showing the way for where we want to be as an employer. Hopefully it's benchmarking for our position as a key employer in the city. And also a lot of our staff live in Plymouth, so they're coming to an organisation where they can benefit themselves, but they can also benefit the rest of the people that we serve. And that, I think, is my introduction to the people strategy. And I will now hand over to Chris. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. I won't add too much to that. Just a couple of things, really. I'd like to highlight the continued work on health, safety and wellbeing across the council as well. We have a phrase that we trot out numerous times every week, which is health and safety trumps everything. And you'll see that best manifested on our high-vis protective equipment and the work safe, home safe slogan that we do there. So that is across the council. The design of the document is just worthy of a couple of words. It reflects the new city branding and uses one of the strap lines that you'll see on the hoardings surrounding the Civic Centre. It does, of course, use real photos of real staff, so nothing AI generated there. And on the subject of AI, just to continue what Councillor Dan was saying, with our Digital Academy, we're just launching cohort 2. So another 40 staff will be studying for apprenticeships in data and AI. This is funded through transfer of apprenticeship levy from other organisations, in this case Google and Microsoft, which means in the past few months we've attracted an additional £1.5 million of funding for training our staff. That means if you add that to our own apprenticeship levy, which we spend, we don't return money to the Treasury, in the space of 12 months, that means we've spent and or committed nearly £2 million worth of apprenticeship funding, which is fantastic. I'm really happy to be at this stage where we can now present an ambitious and supportive people strategy to Cabinet, highlighting the importance of the values and the standards that are needed to work in the public sector, and then presenting the link between great people practice and improved outcomes for our city. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything they want to say or any questions they want to ask? I mean, I'm really pleased to see a strategy that we can definitely all get behind, because it's a strategy which supports the wonderful staff and officers that we all get to work with every day, and their teams who support us in our ambitions for the city. Thrilled to see the branding work so well. So thank you very much for bringing it here today. Sue, do you want to say anything before I move on to the recommendations?
Not really. I think the next thing to do really is to sort of look at the action plan and the impact it's going to have over time. I mean, since I've had this portfolio, I've seen a real growth, for instance, in the training and the organisational support that has gone through, because it's a facilitative portfolio. You know, it touches every single person that works in the council. So it's really important that we get it right. I know the unions were really pleased to see it, because I think it shows that we are listening and that we're working for the future. And, you know, we know there are areas of the council where it's really difficult to recruit. You know, when I do the induction things and I talk to new members of staff, I stress the importance of the public service that we deliver to over 260,000 people across the city every single day. Every one of those, no matter what they do, somehow touches the council. And we are a really key part of that. And to deliver it, we need good staff. So we need to be a good employer. And that's why having this strategy is so important.
Thank you, Tracy. You want to come in?
Just a few words. This is absolutely key to the way in which we operate as a council, one of our key documents. So I'm really pleased it's here, and I just want to pay tribute to Chris and the HR team. It's a small team, but they do power through the work. As Councillor Dan has said, the next stage is to turn this into an action plan. It's words until we deliver the actions, and that's going to be a really important next phase. And then the corporate management team will review the progress against the actions quarterly. That's how we'll make sure we are delivering against it.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to the recommendations. So there's one recommendation that Cabinet approves the new people strategy for Plymouth City Council. Agreed? Lovely. Thank you very much, Chris. So come on to leaders' announcements. Obviously, I'm going to make Tudor's announcements in his absence, but I've been reflecting on the meeting and the kind of themes, and we've talked about caring, we've talked about change when it comes to food waste, iconic buildings with the Civic, women, Professor Steve's report, and people obviously in the strategy. So who in this room could be about to embark on a change? A people person? A caring, iconic woman? Well, I think it would be Councillor Sudan. Now, I know Tudor is very sorry not to be here to be saying what I'm about to say, but we want to celebrate and honour your incredible contributions, Sue. because you're preparing to retire from your role as Cabinet Member for Customer Experience, Sport, Leisure and HR and OD on the 1st of January 2026. Don't cry, Sue. And so for more than 2 decades, Sue has been a driving force for Plymouth, leading on vital areas such as human resources, economic development, transport, street scene and environment, and most recently, customer experience and leisure. Her leadership has left a lasting legacy, from championing sport and leisure to guiding the city through the cost of living crisis. She has always put Plymouth's people first. She safeguarded cherished facilities like Mount Wise pools, delivered thousands of free activity sessions for children through Fit and Fed programme, and pushed forward digital transformation to improve services for everybody. Sue's dedication, vision, and compassion have shaped our city for the better. And on behalf of everybody in Plymouth, we extend our deepest gratitude for your tireless service, Sue, and your unwavering commitment. You really have made a difference. And just on a personal note, I would like to say that Sue is an absolute exemplar of a woman in politics, somebody who elevates and encourages other women and is the kind of advocate that we need now more than ever. I'm only sitting here because of a very frantic phone call I received from Sue when I had literally given up on ever getting selected as a councillor. And I know that you'll still be a really committed and passionate ward councillor for Sutton and Mount Gould, but you will be very much missed in the Cabinet. So thank you for everything, Sue. And I think maybe we should give you a round of applause. And just to say a little bit about Councillor Kate Taylor, who is going to be the one who is going to fill your very large shoes. We're welcoming Kate back to the Cabinet as she steps into your role. She has a wealth of experience, having served as Cabinet Member for Health and Adult Social Care in a very, very tricky time, where she played a pivotal role in leading Plymouth through the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. But so we will welcome Kate in January, and Sue, I know that you've got lots of plans to enjoy the spare time you will now be able to have. Thank you from all of us. So now I'm going to move on to leaders' announcements. I'm proud to share that we submitted our bold joint proposal to the government with Exeter City Council for local government reorganisation in Devon. This is about fixing a system that isn't working. The current two-tier structure creates duplication, confusion, and holds back the joined-up services our residents deserve. Our vision for Devon is simple: 4 strong unitary councils that reflect real communities, cut complexity, and bring decisions closer to the people that they affect. For Plymouth, that means extending our boundary to include 13 South Hams parishes, already closely connected to the city. Exeter would grow to match its true economic footprint, Torbay would strengthen its resilience, and a new Devon Council representing coast and countryside would celebrate and serve our rural and coastal communities. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to simplify local government, unlock growth, and design services around real lives. And by working together, we're making sure Devon's future is clearer, fairer, and stronger. We're continuing to work with MHCLG and Homes England on the New Towns proposal for 10,000 homes in the city centre. Last week, we hosted a visit from the New Towns unit, and we continue to work with CBRE, who are assessing our proposal. A strategic environmental assessment is being undertaken by government, along with a gap analysis. And this will then be used to make a final decision which of the shortlisted places will be taken forward in the first phase. We expect a decision late spring next year, and to put this into some context, each place is asking for hundreds of millions of pounds over several years. So that is a very, very big prize. Secretary of State John Healey made a recent visit to Plymouth. He officially opened Helsing's first UK resilience factory in Plymouth. The new factory will create hundreds of jobs and will produce a subsea autonomous AI-enabled glider to protect sea lanes and underwater infrastructure. I want to thank the ED team and the Freeport team who've worked so hard behind the scenes to make this happen. This is just the first announcement of many, as our inward investment inquiries are as big as they have ever been, with one inquiry a week and as much interest in 3 months as the whole of last year. And just a roundup of capital projects. There's so much going on that it's easy to take for granted the ambition of our capital programme. But just to remind us, we finished our new district centre at Derriford, completed the Tyneside enhancements, topped out our CDC, completed the 23 million ABP port improvements package, and started on delivery shore power. The Freeport has spent all its seed funding, unlocking £73 million worth of investment. We're on site at the Mountbatten Centre making some massive improvements, and we're undertaking key demolitions at Oceansgate to deliver our innovation barns and have almost completed our 15th direct development at Langage. There are many other things I could have chosen to update on there, but the city is in the middle of what we could very happily describe as a purple patch. And I want to talk a little bit about the Boxes programme. There was a very busy Christmassy Super Saturday on Saturday with loads of different activities and brass bands playing and carols, and the cafe was absolutely packed. It was fantastic. And on the back of the 5-year birthday, where we reported 1.1 million visitors, £244 million of economic impact, and £100 million of health benefits, we have had a very busy few weeks with the Grace and Perry tapestries on display as part of the Remember, Respond, Resist show. But I want to talk to you a bit about the programme for 2026. I was in a portfolio holder meeting last week with David at Victoria, and we all agreed 2026 is perhaps the best programme we have ever had. And I want to mention just 2 of many highlights. Beryl Cook exhibition, at last, the thing that people always ask me about. Pride and Joy is what it's called, and it starts on the 24th of January. It's going to be the biggest ever Beryl Cook show. We are ticketing the event. It remains free. The box is free. We've had well over 3,000 people book already because we want to give people the time to enjoy it comfortably. We've been in all the national newspapers, and we even have a Beryl Cook themed retail display in the box shop. Sally will probably be there first. In fact, the box is a great place to go for Christmas gifts, and also the little box is hosting students from Arts University Plymouth who are selling amazing Christmas beautiful gifts. They're there till next Sunday. And then we have Journeys with Mai, which is this world famous Reynolds painting coming to Plymouth on the 14th of February before it goes next stop, New York and the Getty Museum. This £50 million painting is one of the most recognisable in the UK after being bought by the National Portrait Gallery and the Getty Museum in 2023. I think you'll agree it's an incredibly exciting programme, and right here in Plymouth, and I really hope everybody will get the chance to see these incredible exhibitions. So now over to you, Cabin. Oh no, sorry, I'm channeling Sally Hayden, who wanted me to announce that the park won Building of the Year 2025 at the Devon and Cornwall Building Forum in November, which is fantastic news. Fantastic. Now, who has announcements? Councillor Aspinall first.
Just to say, I went to Meadow View last Wednesday. They had opened it up for some of our clients who go to the Vines and Cornwall Lodge to come along. There was hot chocolate, cakes, that I think, but it was also then just looking around, we were on a platform that you had to stay there because you couldn't wander off. But there was a Christmas tree provided by one of the contractors, and we had that lit up, and everybody was just really taken aback by it. I think for the first time we've realised what the dimensions of the building are, and certainly people were blown away by the biggest side of it, where they're going to have all the classes, and hopefully the kiln will go in there, and then they're then starting on the bit that goes and joins the building, and then the accommodation, the apartments. But it was just wonderful for having only been there a few months back, and it was just nothing there. it's really quite special. So if anybody wants to go and have a look and just pop their heads in, as long as you don't get in the way and that you go to the area that they're dealing with, people coming and going, they'll really be happy to give you a verbal update as to what's happening. So hopefully we're on time still at the moment.
Oh, that's great news. Thank you for that update, Councillor Dan.
Oh dear. Last announcement. I'm sort of breaking a bit of protocol really because it's not happening until Wednesday. But I always like to be a first. And Swim England came down to see us a few months ago, and they went up to the Life Centre and they approached us to become the first local authority through the Life Centre to become a strategic partner. So we're going to sign a memorandum of understanding. So what that is doing, it's bringing the strategic outcomes that Swim England trying to achieve as an organisation into a local authority sector. And the reason they wanted to do it, besides the fact that we've got the Life Centre, which is just a brilliant resource, we've got aquatics and diving. It's also because as a city, part of our aspiration and part of the new business aspiration for Plymouth Active is to make sure that everybody can access the water and swim safely. And Swim England also recognise that not everybody does that now in a swimming pool. And the fact that we've got the Lido and the fact that we've got open water swimming, they want to make sure that people in Plymouth can also access the water safely when they're not in a swimming pool, when they're accessing the sea. So this is a first. So they're coming down to the Life Centre on Wednesday where we'll sign the Memorandum of Understanding, and hopefully they'll meet some of the amazing swimmers that we've got, and the fact that we're growing our diving base again. It's really an aspirational piece for the city. So that is my final announcement.
Well, I think that's a pretty special announcement to finish on. So, John.
Thank you. I've got a special one as well because last Sunday, that seemed ages ago. Last week, the buses minister, Simon Lightwood MP, came along to Plymouth. He chose to come to Plymouth as a precursor to the national announcement of the bus grant that was shared the following day on the Friday. The Department for Transport picked up the work of our Plymouth Enhanced Partnership, which is our plan for improving bus services and provision for our residents, in partnership with the operators and various stakeholders of the public across the city. But he wanted to praise it to see the support that Stagecoach had given to running free services on Thursday and Saturday and Sundays from Coypool to not just help with the cost of living issue, but also to generate a business in town. And fewer cars on the road. And also he went along to Citybus to see the first rollout of the 50 zebra buses. So that was good news. Our grant, by the way, was £17,164,290 over 3 years, which was really good news. I was really pleased when I saw Rosie Stanfield at Heseltine nodding and smiling when he announced that. And actually two things that we have two case studies on the Department for Transport, Public Transport blog of good practice. One was the political engagement in the process of improving bus services in the city, and also this one, based on transport focus, when our public transport team analysed the information, the data, and the public response to our bus service. When we submitted that, they replied saying, I shared this with colleagues in our bus team, and this is from the DFT, and wanted to feed back to you that the team has not seen anyone else present such granularity of information or include a commentary seeking to understand and explain the increases or deterioration in performance. In terms of journey time, for example, you have provided results for different corridors, which means you are able to see where in Plymouth things are getting better or worse and where to target further improvement and activity. The team very much feels that this is a really good practice. We will be adding this to our good practice log and will be pointing other authorities to this as good practice as we continue our engagement with local transport authorities and operators across Great Britain. Great work. And great work should be the words described to our public transport team, who do a brilliant job working for our residents, visitors and workers in the city to provide the best possible bus service in partnership with other stakeholders. So well done to the public transport team.
Very impressive feedback. Anybody else have any announcements? No? Okay, so I'll move on then to the LGA roundup. And the LGA issued a statement in response to the autumn budget and council funding, saying that while funding levels have increased in recent years, councils will rightly be anxious that this budget doesn't provide the increase in funding we all desperately need to ensure our financial sustainability, to protect services, support local communities and address national priorities. I don't think there's any surprise there. Key concerns remain around the significant pressures which exist in the areas that we talk about all the time, especially in adult social care, temporary accommodation, special educational needs and disabilities, home to school transport and children's placements. These 4 areas, alongside homelessness, are our key areas of focus as we move to set a balanced budget for 2026-27. And we echo the LGA stance on tackling child poverty, and we're really pleased to hear in the budget that the 2-child benefit cap has been lifted. And we, in fact, wrote to the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, encouraging her to tackle child poverty by lifting that 2-child benefit cap. The LGA said councils are committed to working with the government to reduce child poverty and welcome measures that support families who are working hard but still struggling financially. And we do agree with their view that the government needs to look at sustainable support across employment, education, housing, social care and health to address poverty at its root. And we know that local government has a key role to play in helping to achieve this. So that's the end of that. And I think that brings this meeting to an end. Thank you very much.